You are now listening to the Project Kuwait. Where we stop at nothing to bring you the right facts on health, fitness, and psychology. Featuring some of the world's most experienced professionals so you can learn, live, and live. With your hosts, Meg, Dr. D, and Mehdi.
It was like 9 a.m. and I just remember being on my phone so consumed and stressed that I didn't even pay attention to my cat came flying across the living room. And literally, I freaked me out and I slammed my shin right into the coffee table.
Oh, man.
So I literally hit the ground and I remember blood gushing out. And when my leg opened up, it felt like all the emotions opened up, hitting a low that I've never experienced in my life. And I just remember just crying and hitting the floor. And I looked up. And in that moment of looking up, my cat doesn't have any teeth. He's a New York City cat. He fell out of a window like 7
I was
years
gonna say,
ago.
did you adopt him from Kuwait?
Yeah. So he's got like his two front teeth missing. And he's fat and he's orange. So he's just got this weird face. And I just remember bawling, laughing. And crying turned to laughing. And I was just literally laughing on the ground. And I sat on the couch. And my dog came over and he put his head in my lap of just knowing something's wrong. I just kind of had a moment where I was just like, it's going to be all right. It was literally all right. And that was the moment that I kind of decided to start turning things. And I knew that if I was going to right this ship, I had to work on me. I had to stop putting so much focus on the business and the coach and put more emphasis on the man, because the man had been cast aside for many years at that point.
All this and more in today's episode.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Project. I am joined today with James Quigley. James and I were introduced a few years ago out in Kuwait, running some fitness business for Circuit Plus. And I wanted to bring him back today to talk a little bit about what that expat experience has done for his personal and professional career. And hopefully he can teach us something new today and let us know what he's up to since the whole Kuwait journey. So welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. And Miss Megan, this is awesome. I appreciate it.
Nobody's called me Miss Megan since Kuwait, I don't think.
Well, I figured I had to throw that out there to kind of bring it back.
Absolutely. Did you have a specific title that they called you?
Captain.
Just coach? Captain. That's right.
A lot of captain. Professor. Professor. Captain or professor was my title. Not coach a little bit, but mostly captain and professor.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you came all the way from New York out to Kuwait to help us run some men's CrossFit with Circuit Plus. And I want to talk just a little bit about you making that decision to come out to Kuwait and kind of I always like to get into the mindset of people of where were they at in their life when that became, because for most of us, I feel out there, and from what I've gathered so far from talking to everybody, it seemed like a no-brainer decision to take the opportunity and come out there. So I'm always kind of curious of just what was life like at that time that made it a perfect opportunity for you?
Man, life was... So when I went to Kuwait, it was more or less trying to escape. I had been, a fitness professional in New York City for a very long time. I was kind of running at a very high level, so to speak. I was operating 2 gyms in New York and operating one of the strongest communities, and multiple events at the same time, different CrossFit events. I was hitting a point of no return. I was hitting burnout. We were going through a really large lawsuit due to sound. New York City, the gyms are tight and normally on top of, or I should say in basements, and there are buildings on top of these gyms. And so sound was becoming a big problem for one of our residents. And we were in like a deep, deep lawsuit. That lawsuit took a major toll on my relationship with the owners, their relationship with us as a staff, our members. It took a toll on because we kept having to kind of alter workouts and finding solutions. So I remember there was a time where I got yelled at for programming double unders and wall balls. Now you think like that, like what kind of sound does that make? But supposedly the person heard people jumping and heard something slamming. And in that day, we had wall balls and double unders. So I got told I can no longer program that. And I got told I can't program any barbell work. And we had no dumbbells at the time. So it all kind of coincided with with overworking and trying to overachieve as much as I could. And when the opportunity came to coach in Kuwait, I kind of ran towards it and I never looked back.
Yeah. And what was that first impression like when you got there then?
Oh my God.
I love your arrival story.
Yeah, so my arrival story is pretty good. The arrival story got me into Kuwait at around 10:30, 10:45 at night, maybe. And I remember you and Steph Pullman picked me up and you guys were like, "Are you hungry?" And I was like, "Of course, I'm starving. I just got off like a 24-hour flight." And so I remember you guys took me to the Souk, right? Am I pronouncing it right? It's been so long, right? The
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And we were meeting up with, I guess, Battle of the East just happened. And Max Schneider, Dane Thomas, Diego was there, Batter was there, and they were all there eating. And we went to go meet up with them. So of course, I'm New Yorker through and through. Have never really left the United States all too much. Maybe just maybe to Mexico, and that was the extent of my travels at that point. So I get to the Souk, and I am in a culture shock. And there's just people all over the place. It's super late, but it's just booming. Everyone, the Kuwaitis were in traditional garb. So for me, all I've ever seen was that on television. And in I don't want to speak, the general American media at that point didn't always portray that in a positive light. So I get out there and I'm like, what the hell, where am I? So we meet up with everyone. They offer food. I'm starving. I'm eating the bread. I'm eating the chicken. It was phenomenal. And I had to go to the bathroom. And they're like, "Oh yeah, the bathroom is just turn the corner. It's right over there." And so I go and I turn the corner and everything looks the same. All the markets look the exact same.
Yeah, each aisle is very similar. It's a maze for sure.
I'm already in a shock. I'm obviously jet lagged. I have no idea what's happening. And so I find a bathroom and I slide open this door and it's dark. There's a hole in the floor. And this big Kuwaiti guy with a huge beard is just like talking to me and he's pointing. And I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. I'm like, how can I get home immediately? So I go and I pee in a hole. It's the first time ever in my life that I had to pee in a hole. And I couldn't even find my way back. I finally found my way back. And that was my first experience and my first night in Kuwait.
I remember you describing it like you thought you were in an episode of Homeland.
Yeah.
Just like, which totally just speaks to most people's perception of the Middle East from
yeah, I don't want to offend anybody, but yeah, it was like literally a first episode of Homeland. It was very scary.
Man.
But very nerve-wracking at the same time and got me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I needed at that time.
And you started kind of channeling that and I think running towards that and appreciating what else is out there, because travel, I know, became a big part of what you appreciated about that part of your life and your adventure. Living out there.
One of the major sticking points of why I decided to pull the trigger and move out there was the 30 days paid leave, right? And man, when I heard that, because in the States, you don't get that. Like people, especially in fitness, you don't get that in fitness. Like in fitness, like you miss your classes, you don't get paid.
So yeah, I was gonna say you can take 30 days off, but it's going to be unpaid.
Yeah, exactly. You can go for a month, but chances are you're not going to get paid, and bigger chances you're not going to have classes when you come back.
Right.
So the opportunity to travel, to be on that side of the world, it was always a dream to go to Thailand. It was always a dream to go to Europe. And so this gave me the opportunity to do that, and I was burnt out. And I didn't even want to manage. I didn't even go in as a manager. I went in as just a coach. I wanted to get back to the roots of just coaching traditional classes and just kind of take a deep breath. And I was able to do that for the first couple of months. And it was awesome. It was fantastic. And I got to travel. I got to go to Thailand. I got to go to Europe, all different kinds of countries in Europe. And I think the community being so welcoming in Kuwait, they just made it, the guys that I coached made it so easy. Like they never questioned me as a coach. In fact, they welcomed me. They welcomed instruction immediately. And they were just so generous. Like they were so generous. So it just kind of like, it made the experience so awesome where the people that lived there and I got an opportunity to coach, it made it just so much easier.
Go ahead. He can edit this out. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Speak freely. All right, sweet. Okay, so getting out there and getting the time to dial back, like you said, and not put on your manager hat and just getting into the coaching. I guess, how long was it before you started to get that itch, or when did you start to realize, maybe you wanted to have more of an impact in training and development and coaching coaches versus coaching a class or managing a class? When did that shift kind of happen for you again?
Yeah, it was like 2 months. It was like 2 months where it happened fast. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. And it was like
Right.
2 months in, and I just saw opportunities for us to improve. And it was also going to improve my quality of work and my quality of life if these changes had happened. However, I also hate being like the peanut gallery, like, you guys should do this, you should do that. Instead, I wanted to be more proactive and take more of a leadership role because I felt like the staff at the time were all very new. Everyone was very, very kind of young. Everyone was in the early 20s. I had been in my mid to later 30s at this point already, over 10 years experience in the fitness industry. So I thought I had a lot to offer. And so within 2 months, I was rested. I felt good again. And I was able to kind of like make that transition pretty easily.
So what was the first step or the first project, I guess, in your assessment of a coaching staff or looking at a business? And
it was programming, looking at the programming from more of a logistics side. I think at that point we were running programming for all the gyms. It was the same program. And from a logistical side, it didn't make sense for one gym, right, versus another. And I thought, well, we can do a better job here, creating more of an experience from the coach's standpoint, how to put them in a better position to be successful, and also how to put the client, our clients at golf were very new to CrossFit, very new to fitness. These guys didn't really have a lot of experience, whereas our members in, I guess, Megabox came from the other gym and Samia, right? I guess that other gym was in Samia, right? No, golf was
golf was in Samia. Yeah. So Megabox was previously in Shueik. It was in Lilly Center. It was
so the Shueik guys. You had a lot of good athletes there. They were experienced, strong. They loved it. They already knew what to expect. And so there was a very distinct contrast of communities and abilities. And I kind of went away from a one size fits all works for everyone. And I started to recognize that there are ways to help certain individuals more so than if we just had a blanket vanilla program. So that was one of the first ways. It wasn't easy, obviously, working with my peers who did a phenomenal job. They weren't doing a bad job at all. It wasn't a knock on them per se. I just thought that there were opportunities there to improve.
Absolutely. So I guess going through that process, what are some of the skills, I guess, and management skills it could be that you think were really tested and fine-tuned just from being an expat in Kuwait, but also in that, type of work environment in the fitness industry or in a new fitness, scene, new concepts, things like that, working with multiple cultural differences as well. I mean, there's a lot thrown at us in that scenario. So what are some of those skills, I guess, that were really challenged and fine-tuned?
Yeah, it's one thing to be an American coming to work overseas, right? It's another thing to be a New Yorker working overseas. New York, we typically just move at a very fast, aggressive, intense pace. And so after I got my rest, all of a sudden I started to feel that aggressive, intense pace coming through my work. And this was the first time I worked outside of New York. So what was tested a lot were the communication skills that I had at that point. When you talk to another New Yorker, it's very cut and dry what needs to happen. There's no BS. There's no fluff. There's no, the criticism sandwich. It is literally like, I need this. Here's what I need from you. Can we execute? Yes. No. Okay. Boom. We move. Versus I started to realize that wasn't working, to the communication skill sets that I needed were more of a softer approach, more of a learning and understanding and a curiosity approach. And I didn't have that skill set at the time. So that was really where my communication skill sets, not my ability to empathize, but more so see it from someone else's point of view, right? I've had a lot of success. So I knew what success looked like on my terms and my terrain. This was new for me. However, at that point, I still wasn't able to see it from another perspective. I was challenged a lot was to be able to I didn't know what a young guy from Europe learned. I didn't know what a young person in the Middle East knew, so these were all learning experiences for me. And I hit, I hit my head on a lot of different walls trying to learn this at the time.
Yeah. Trying to learn the best, but how awesome now, like seeing the success of that coming when you're now doing something online and more of a global approach, that you being able to fine tune those communication skills, that intentional listening with people. And like you said, listening with curiosity versus like, I've already been there, or, I know more than this person, not listening from those places.
Huge. Yeah. The takeaways from that time managing, the time coaching and the time working, the time living were phenomenal. But the time managing and dealing with the different personalities that we have were probably the most trying time for me ever in my whole fitness career. However, those learning lessons are huge now for me. Now, when I have clients in Dubai, I have clients in Germany, I'm able to communicate with different gyms and different coaches internationally. It was because I went through those trials and those tribulations with that staff.
Absolutely. So were there any like real low points in your career, either before or after Kuwait, that kind of helped get you to where you are right now? Obviously, this Kuwait experience we're talking about, that helps you with your coaching, but I guess what brought you to what you're doing now, which is online coaching? You're still coaching live and in person.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. But you're also building your online brand and business. And so what's been the journey from getting you there?
Coming home from Kuwait, I wasn't prepared to go home right away. I thought I was going to have another few more months, so I didn't prepare properly. Then when I came home, I wanted to open up a gym. I thought opening a gym was going to be what was the thing I needed to do. It was also what I thought everyone expected me to do. I also didn't have a lot of good habits and behaviors, right? I had a really poor mindset at that point. And I went out to Kuwait to kind of work on it, and I didn't end up working on it. I ended up just kind of falling into the same kind of rut that I had in New York. So when I got home, I decided to move to Austin, Texas. Got home to New York, I decided to move to Austin, Texas. I came here to try to open up a gym because I thought that would be financially smarter. The market here was fantastic. But I still didn't change my mindset. I didn't change the behaviors and the habits and the routines that I needed to address. The plan to open a gym fell through. Everything fell through for me at that point. My entire life, I was working out too much because I was trying to compensate for being stressed out. So I would overtrain. I was bulking, right? I was trying to gain muscle. I was bulking. So I was eating really bad. When you bulk, you're just going to be like, oh, it's okay. I'll have this one cookie. I can eat half this cheeseburger, right? That one cookie turns into a sleeve of cookies. The half a cheeseburger ends up being the fries with the half a cheeseburger. And then, of course, the whole cheeseburger. And before I know it, I was fat. I was out of shape. I was miserable. I was broke. And on top of that, people owed me money as I was starting to consult for other gyms and for other services and for events. But people I worked with that I hired were also owed money. So it was this perfect storm. It just all happened in one day where I woke up that morning to text messages from a couple of different people that worked on the HQ staff, the media staff, that they worked for me for an event. They were owed money by this event. I was owed money by this event. I was owed money from 2 other events. I was owed money from a gym that was consulting for me, that I was consulting for. I owed I owed bills. I owed rent. I owed people money. I wasn't delivering on the promises that I was trying to make to others. And I literally remember just being on the phone. It was 9 a.m. And I just remember being on my phone so consumed and stressed that I didn't even pay attention to my cat came flying across the living room. And literally, I freaked me out and I slammed my shin right into the coffee table.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. And if you've ever hit a coffee
that hurts.
with your shin, you're seeing color. So I literally hit the ground and I remember blood gushing out. And when my leg opened up, it felt like all the emotions opened up of hitting a low that I've never experienced in my life. And I just remember just crying and hitting the floor. And I looked up, and in that moment of looking up, my cat doesn't have any teeth. He fell out of the window Literally,
Oh
he fell out of a
man.
window. He's a New York City cat. He fell out of a window like 7
I was
years
gonna say, did
ago.
you adopt him from Kuwait?
Yeah. So he's got like his two front teeth missing, and he's fat and he's orange. So he's just got this weird face. And I just remember bawling, laughing. My crying turned to laughing, and I was just literally laughing on the ground. And I sat on the couch, and my dog came over, and he put his head in my lap. And just our animals just have a way of just knowing something's wrong. And my dog put his head in his lap, and I just kind of had a moment where I was just like, "It's going to be all right." It was literally all right, and that was the moment that I kind of decided to start turning things. And I knew that if I was going to right this ship, I had to work on me. I had to stop putting so much focus on the business and the coach and put more emphasis on the man, because the man had been cast aside for many years at that point.
I mean, I think you hit it really big when you talked about, some of those expectations, like you felt expected, like this next step was to start a gym when you get back home. And so like and being in Kuwait and working in Kuwait, we dealt a lot with our members in trying to help them sort through the expectations that they have from family, from society, from culture. It's very, very, very strong for them there. And that can impede a lot of people's health and performance, when they don't see the results coming. A lot of times it's what's happening outside of the gym is usually what's going on. And you coming back and having some of those stories in there of this is the next step that I need to take, or this is what I need to do for my health, and having to dissect and break down all of those. So what was the next step in getting up?
Just to kind of go back to that, because that's a great point, especially for, our listeners. When you think about you're expected to do this, right? And you think about all of these people in your head, chances are those people don't care as much as you really think they do. That was a big reality hit. Those people, they have their own stuff going on. They're they're more focused on their stories, right? So the story you're telling yourself in the head is like, this person expects it, or this, like those people that you're kind of thinking about aren't really thinking about you. And chances are you're probably making people up in your head. We make these ghosts up, and these people don't even exist, right? We think these people, most people aren't even paying attention as much as we think they are. So it's like when you just kind of think about that and you put that aside, it's like this big sigh of relief that it's like, man, I can mess up as much as I want, because at the end of the day, no one really cares as much as I think they do.
Right. Who's really watching that closely?
Yeah,
but also, it's just hard.
Yeah, take yourself off a pedestal for 1 second and just really think about your work in progress. And it's okay to not have all the answers, and it's okay to not have it all figured out, because if you put yourself, the faster you do that, the faster you can start to create progress. And that's what I did. I had to pull the pride aside, put the ego down, and literally build myself up from the ground up. And it really did take a lot of looking in the mirror and calling myself out on my own BS.
So do you do affirmations in the mirror, or how do you call yourself out on that?
I do. That's
a powerful thing. I had my acupressure guy that I saw in Bali. That was like one of his recommendations. He was like, seriously, you don't know how freaking hard it is until you try it. Go look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself,
oh my God,
that you love yourself. Or
yeah, it was a process. It was a process. The first thing I started doing was like, man, I feel dumb. I feel dumb. I thought I had all the answers, but I don't. So I literally decided to start learning again. And so I started with podcasts. I just started reaching out to different podcasts, and I Googled like learning podcasts, and Jim Quick came up, right? And he's got these like cool little bite-sized podcasts, like 15, 16-minute longs of these cool little lessons. And he's big on acronyms. And he led me to another person, and that person led me to another person. And then I decided to get a coach. And getting a coach was the greatest investment I ever did in my life, because having a coach, now I was accountable to someone, but I also had support, where I was going at it all by myself. I was going at it alone. And having a coach and investing, that investment, when I literally pulled the trigger and I paid that Venmo, it hurt, right? It hurt. But at the same time, it was like such an empowering feeling that I just invested in myself. I literally just invested in myself. Like, I can invest in all of these other things, but I just invested in me. And there was no greater feeling. And every time I got a new coach, or every time I bought a new program, it was like this feeling of empowerment that just kept stacking and stacking and stacking. So it built my confidence up a lot.
I can say I've definitely felt the most creative, the most productive, and the best in my mind, I think, when I've been accountable to a coach as well. And that's something I think coaches need coaches too. And I think that's something that people forget, especially coaches in the game, maybe some of those who are kind of in that point where they are feeling a little drowned and not feeling so good in their body, but they're helping people feel better in their bodies. And then that can like spiral you down into a whole nother, emotional shitstorm of how can I help these people? And I seem to be struggling so hard with myself. So I think investing in a coach, absolutely right. You nailed it.
Yeah. Especially younger coaches, they feel they have to have it all figured out. One of the biggest regrets of my life is in my 20s is acting like I had to have it all figured out. So younger coaches, they use like this big terminology. No, I'm good. Hey, I know. And it's like, that's the fastest way to learn nothing, right? So as a younger coach, like reach out for help, reach out for support, because you're going to get where you want to go that much faster than if you just kind of bumping along the road trying to figure it all out. A good coach will allow you to have some bumps in the road. A good coach will guide you, but a good coach will kind of allow you to learn from your mistakes faster than you just not even recognizing that you made a mistake.
Right. I think that coaching, especially in Kuwait, I think one of the reasons that we started the project as well was to help hold coaches accountable out there. In Kuwait is a place where there's not the issue so much of people not wanting to invest in their health, right? And cash flow is a little more open there when it comes to like local population. And so I guess getting people or those coaches, like holding them accountable, like not being able just to spew the easy and the bullshit, like, because that's something I found for myself being there after a while. Was like, I was less motivated to continue learning and doing something because I was able to get away with what I already knew so much of. And so I guess like for someone who's kind of maybe feeling that a little bit, what are some of the first, like outside of like traditional exercise? Is that what you started investing in yourself in? Was obviously in yourself and your own development. That was outside of like not a training program, like a coach for someone to write you like a squat program. It was someone to write more of like the internal stuff, right?
Yeah. I went away from focusing so much on being a better professional and got a coach for my life and being a person. I had put so much effort into being a professional. I got all the certifications. So that stuff, if you want to be a really good coach understands people. And so if you can make that paradigm shift, instead of putting your money into the next best cert or the next best seminar or workshop, find some workshops or some seminars that are geared more towards things that happen outside of the gym, beyond the four walls that the gyms are created, because that's going to allow you to just interact better with people. It's going to allow you to understand your clients better, and it's going to help you grow as a person, which in turn, if you focus more on the person, the coach is going to grow with the person. But if you focus just on the coach, the person doesn't really have anywhere to grow. It can't live up to the coach. So focusing on the person first will allow that coach to grow even exponentially.
Yeah, I think the thing that I always hear related to that is just being able to meet people where they're at. Like we talked about earlier, like that one size fits all doesn't work for everybody. And yeah.
And you don't learn that, you don't know that early in your career. You don't understand that. You're just trying to get people fit and strong and give them the service that you're being asked to provide. You don't realize that the real reasons that they're there, right? The real outcomes that they're really looking for, the real problems you're really trying to solve, right? You don't understand
confidence.
That. Yeah, you don't realize that. You're just working on a surface level. You're working on a surface level, like better snatching, better technique, eating healthier. Like you don't realize what are roots here? What is this cause? Why does this person want to snatch more? Why does this person want to squat more? Why does this person want to lose weight and look better? Why does this, like, as you get more experience and you gain more life experience and you gain more coaching experience, you start to realize, okay, there's something more at play. How do I really dive in to find out those outcomes that my clients want?
Talk about knowing the why being so important. I think that's for your clients to understand their goals. It's not just losing the 5 pounds. What is it that you really want? For the coach to be able to understand that. And then as we talked about earlier, managing people, I think when you are managing a group of whether that's your clients or, within your work environment, I think for people to understand decisions being made and what you're doing and the purpose behind that, understanding why, I think it goes all around. Like it's in a professional environment, people need to know, they need to feel like they have a piece of the pie. When you're working with your clients and on their health, everybody needs to understand why we're after what we're doing and give them a little piece of the puzzle and the pie as well of understanding what's the goal.
Yeah, I think, you nailed a lot of reasons why maybe we struggled working together. Not you and I, but like a lot of us struggled working together because what was the main purpose, right? What was our ultimate outcome? What was our mission? What were we trying to do? And it didn't feel like it was clear for all of us. And I think that came up a lot. Like, what's the point of this? What is our mission? There wasn't a lot of clarity there. And you see that in a lot of gyms. You see that in a lot of different businesses, that if there's not a lot of clarity behind the why and the purpose, communication starts to suffer, morale starts to suffer, and people's purpose and vision will kind of start to like, they don't even know why.
Diminish. Yeah.
So it's like, knowing that why, knowing that purpose and being very clear on it is very important.
Awesome. All right. So there's two other things I want to get into with you. And one of them I want to know is just like your ingredients for your above the line life, we can say in a very
above the line life. I never heard that.
Above the line life. Yeah. So like, what are the hardline things that you need to have like incorporated in your day that you make time for, that makes you feel best? I kind of want to get into like your little method behind the madness, but then also I want you to kind of take us through, I know you offer coaching calls and you're helping support people who are able to, or maybe curious to start, bringing their business online, or maybe coaching coaches or helping people dive a little bit beyond, just shaping their arms and shaping their butt and either one of those, if you want to go for your personal method. And then if you want to go through like your coaching calls.
Yeah, let's go into my foundation. My foundation is my daily practices, my daily habits, my routines. Without that, especially nowadays, especially now with the way the world is and things that we're dealing with, that is literally what I'm relying on to get me through. So I get up every day at the same time and I go to bed every day at the same time. It sounds simple. It sounds like, really, that's all you do? But yes, like I literally.
It's harder than you think.
It is. Having my time set that I wake up and I go to bed each and every time requires discipline. But there's so much freedom in that discipline. The moment I get up, I literally have a checklist of all the things that I'm trying to do as far as being positive, being productive, and keeping it simple and healthy. So I'll literally get up, I'll make my coffee, I'll start, literally the first thing I do is I start writing. And the reason I start writing is that my brain has just been working for 8 hours or 7 hours or 6, whatever it is. Hopefully, most of the time it's 8. And so I want to know what's going on in there. I want to get it out. So I start writing for about 60 to 90 minutes. And I'm just having.
Do you just like free write, or like do you give yourself a topic, or you just brain dump?
What I do is it's the most important thing that's in my business that I need to work on. And so what I'll do is the night before, I'll leave myself clues. So I'll ask myself like 3 questions. And then when I open up my computer, those 3 questions are there. And then I can just it gives me just kind of a little jump start.
What were today's 3 questions? Can I ask?
It was literally I was just working on my 12-week program for a new 12-week program that I'm excited to launch in the summertime. So it was, who is this for? How are you going to serve them? And what are the biggest problems you want to help them do? What are the biggest problems you want to help them solve? So, and I just started just going. The moment I'm done with that, I'll literally pull out my book and then I'll just go into kind of like my journaling, my gratitude, my I ams, my affirmations and all that stuff. Then at that point, I'll take some phone calls. And once the phone calls are done, I'll know it's about 11 o'clock now at this point. And that's a good time for me to break. And I'll go and I'll take my dog for a walk. I'll get outside. I'll get away from myself. I'll put my device away. So it gives me kind of a break point at that point. And then I go about my day, depending on what else needs to happen in the day. However, I actually make sure the week is kind of structured in a way that allows me to be productive, but also puts my life before my business. So I construct my week, my business, I build it around my life. So I make sure I have my date nights plugged in first, my family calls plugged in first, all my self-care times, the times I'm going to work out, the times I'm going to read, all of my life stuff goes in first before my business stuff. And it's just a daily practice and it's a discipline, and not every day is perfect. And I just leave myself wiggle room to make sure that that stuff doesn't, hold on one second. I have to be honest. No, she just went outside. So I just make sure that I'm not perfect. If it sounds like, oh, I can't do that, that's too hard. I didn't start like that. I started with just some simple gratitude every day. I started with just 3 things that I was grateful for. I started with just some questions that I asked myself each and every day. I started with just a little bit of nighttime reflecting and some brain dumping, and then it grew into what it now looks like today.
And that's the thing. It's for your personal routine or something like that. Like fitness, I think that's the thing is we get overwhelmed looking at all these things that we know that we should be doing. Again, expectations. What do we think we should be doing? But also trying to revamp the whole thing. Like if you're going to revamp your bedtime, your wake up time, your morning routine of journaling and reading, all stuff, you're going to try to do that all in right away. Day one, you think you're going to nail that every day. There's no way.
No. That's one of the things that I do with my clients and my coaches is we do an audit. We just kind of look at what's going on for a couple of days. And then we start to implement like 1 or 2 things at a time that will serve them greater than what they're currently doing. And a great resource is, if you're out there listening, is the Perfect Week Formula by Craig Ballantyne. Craig's my coach, and it's a fantastic resource. I used to wake up and have like the Tony Robbins morning routine where I would get up, cold shower, meditate, pray, write all the things I'm grateful for. And before I know it, it was like 10 a.m. and I haven't gotten any work done. Right? And I got nothing done. All right. And so now I get up and I literally go to work on the first thing that is the most important thing in my business. And I attack it for 60 to 90 minutes. And then I go into all the things, the self-care things, the Tony Robbins things that I picked up from Tony, and I go into that stuff. But I literally start my day with the most important thing while my brain has all these ideas. I just get them on paper.
Yeah. What was the name of that resource again?
The Perfect Week Formula by Craig Ballantyne. Yeah, he's my coach. Shout out to Craig. Yeah, great guy, phenomenal guy. I've been following him for a long time, and I pulled the trigger recently. A few months now, I've been working with him to amplify my business, and he's been phenomenal.
All right. So what is your business? What's going on?
Oh, I like that.
Take us through
it. Yeah, so, I decided to go against opening up a gym. I realized that wasn't something that was truly in my heart anymore. I had worked in the gym industry for over, 18 years. And I've owned a gym before. I've run so many of them. It just didn't feel like it was something I wanted to do. But I still had this calling to coach. And so when I started to go through the processes of figuring out, well, who did I want to coach? What did I want to coach? How did I want to serve? It was a very exhausting and hard process to figure out who my ideal client was. But the way I went through it was to figure out who I was. And I was a fitness professional. I was at some point in time burnt out. I was struggling to build my presence and impact the people the way I wanted to impact. So now it kind of worked out to where I figured out I wanted to work with coaches, and I wanted to help coaches kind of build their business and become their own CEOs, not because I wanted to build a laptop lifestyle, not because I wanted to work from a coffee shop. That wasn't it. It was literally because I feel the way to impact the industry is to literally work with the blood of the industry. And that is the coaches, the trainers, and the instructors. They need support. They need help more than ever, because more and more people are opening gyms with no background, no business background, no acumen in fitness, no sales background. So these are the leaders. And these are the leaders that can't transfer anything to their coaches because they never went through the process. Now, I'm speaking general. Not all owners are like this, but there's a big, big population of these gyms that opened up because it was very easy to open up a gym, but they just don't have the tools to support these trainers and these coaches. And unfortunately, these coaches and these trainers are struggling right now. They get into the industry because they've got all this passion. And then they're like, oh my God, how do I make a living? Right. And they're now being taught, oh yeah, you can make $25 a class, or you can trade your time for money. And it's like, no, that is such a bad way to operate and to build a thriving life. So Yeah, absolutely. Right. You want to make an impact, but you're so stressed out about your resources and your finances, it kind of impacts the way you're now influencing others. So I created a program. I created a 12-week program that I work with coaches, and I take them from burnout to becoming their own CEOs and thriving with their own virtual and online businesses.
So how many people do you allow in a group? Do you run this like in a group style? Is it anybody just purchases the 12 weeks whenever they want to sign up and they just run through it on their own? Or how do you?
Right now, I'm working exclusively with people. I'm working one-on-one with people. And in June, summer of June, the group model will launch. What I realized working one-on-one, it's fantastic, but we all come from a culture of community and camaraderie and working alongside people. And that works well with coaching too. So the first part of the coaching process that you go through is so hard because you're gaining clarity on what you want to do, who you want to serve, and how you're going to do it. It's literally a very hard process that people underestimate. So when you're going at it with you and your coach, it can feel very lonely. But what I realize is when I went through a group coaching program myself, I realized when I had others going through this with me, we were able to support each other and kick ideas around. And I was able to get inspiration from other people. And that allowed me to find my niche so much faster. So now I'm excited to build a group coaching model for coaches that I think, one, it'll solve a problem in the affordable option, especially now more than ever. A lot of coaches are now faced with uncertainty of having money and having resources. So being able to kind of have an affordable option now is fantastic versus working one-on-one with me, which I'll still be able to work with one-on-one, but it will just be at a little bit more of a higher price point.
So let's talk about some of the I don't want to say like myths, but concerns out there right now of someone who's maybe interested in moving online. And especially right now, we're in a unique situation with Corona happening and gyms are closed. And a lot of people are taking to the online and they're throwing on their online fitness classes. And you see free stuff popping up left and right from trainers all over. So for someone maybe with that mindset of, well, everybody else is already doing it, what room is there for me in this? Or how am I going to do it any better or different? Or, like, what's your advice to speak to that?
Yeah, the imposter syndrome pops up nowadays. And it's popping up even with a lot of my current clients because they're starting to see everyone offer these options. And they're wondering, well, why me? If all of these more popular coaches are offering it, how do I stand a chance? The imposter syndrome shows up when it tells you, it's a way to warn you that you're about to step into something that potentially could hurt you. However, that's where the greatest rewards are. So
I got chills before you even finished that sentence because I'm like, I know that feeling. It's like it's a risk. It's, oh shit, this could go really fucking bad, or this could be awesome.
Yeah. Someone once mentioned they were like, imposter syndrome shows up right when you're about to step into your dreams. And it was like, whoa, right? That's so true. So if you're feeling imposter syndrome, that means you should do it, right? That means it's big, so do it. However, you want to separate yourself. Everyone's offering a virtual online option. Everyone is, right? Because if they don't do it, they're going to fold, right? So there's ways of doing it now. And the way you have to do is the way I do with my clients is you need to figure out who you want to focus on, right? Trying to focus on the masses is not going to help you, right? We're taught this, right? We're taught that, our programs can work for everyone. Our gyms can help a 19-year-old athlete and they can work out side by side with a 65-year-old woman. Well, that's great and it's romantic, but it doesn't work for marketing purposes, right? If we look at commercials don't show us that, right? Businesses don't do that in their commercials. They're focused on specific people. And so coaches and gyms are going to have to niche down. They're going to really have to think about specifically who they want to work with and what problems do they want to solve. I think Elon Musk has a great quote. You are compensated in direct correlation with the size of the problems you solve. So the bigger the problem, the more value you're going to be able to acquire. The smaller the problem, like general fitness, just do a workout in your living room floor. Well, yeah, that's only going to get you but so much. But if you now want to stand apart, you've got to figure out who you want to help, be very specific, right? Don't just be like, I want to work with athletes. Well, what kind of athletes? What athletes? Are they a man or a woman? and then think about what problems does that person have and how you can solve it. And that, I think, will allow people, the people that do that are going to kind of thrive and are going to kind of weed through all the noise that's happening right now. And the people that don't, the people that stay general, it's going to be scary for them when all this.
Their message is going to have a hard time landing with anyone. It's
right.
It's too general.
How
about whether to charge or not right now? So people that are maybe like, they know their niche and they want to put some content out there, some sessions, some classes, whether it's like actually physical or if it's something more mental and mindfulness, and they're wanting to put it out there. What about charging?
That's a great question. So you have 3 tiers. One thing that we kind of pivoted right now with my clients, we came up with a 3-tier system. Is the first tier is absolutely all value free, right? Offer things for free. Give as much. If you're giving free content now, times it by 2. Do more, right? Give out more free content. That's level 1. That allows people to kind of engage with you, to kind of back off of the walls being up with their scarcity mindset that they may have. So it just kind of, you're offering value to the community. It's your way of contributing, of giving back. Second thing is you need to have a low barrier offer, something low, something that just kind of gets them in the door with you, right? It's like if you've got multiple different products, say if you're a trainer that offers training, nutrition, routine and healthy habit, mindset coaching, right? Take one of those programs, right? Scale it so that you're not having to show up all the time. Scale it that you can kind of maybe like push it out to like 10 to 15 people and then offer that for a low entry cost, right? Again, it just gets people's beaks wet. You're solving a small problem for them. You're still giving value. It's not so evasive to someone. And it kind of, again, also put some money in your pocket. You know, we need to put some money in the pocket. We can't feel bad about that. If you've got money problems, you can't feel bad about selling. You just can't, right? Everyone has to still be able to live and be able to afford life right now. Third option is then having your bigger, more sizable plate offering that you're going to say, if you get this, this is how you're full access to me. I show up twice a week on a Zoom call, or I'll text with you daily. We'll email back and forth together. You're going to fit 5 days worth of workouts, eating meal program with me, whatever it is. You're going to bundle everything up in that higher tier offer, right? And that just allows people to have the options and they can choose for themselves what works best for them.
Choose your own adventure. I like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
How about dealing with the people in our lives, like friends and family and people that know what you do, can help them. That's health oriented, whether it's the movement, the food, the mindfulness, whatever. And they just, can you just write me up a little program or send me a little something or create me some videos or, what can you do to help me? But they don't want that minimal barrier offer even, and they're not willing to invest in that higher because they know you, because they think that they can get it for free. Yeah. Or what do you have to say on that?
You got to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself, and most precious resource is your time. If you're giving away your time, think of it this way. The person that you are serving, right? The person, your ideal client, if you're having to show up for people outside of that who are not paying you, you're not showing up for the people who are, because you're wasting your time with people. You're being nice, but unfortunately, it's pulling you away from the people that really matter. And those people are your purpose. Those people are the reason why you wake up in the morning. That's your ideal client. That's your niche. That's who you're here to serve. If you're allowing Aunt Rose and whoever to take your time up and they're not willing to compensate you for that, you're going to get pulled in a lot of different directions. So you need to set up some rules for yourself and how you're going to serve. And the way I would recommend that is push them towards your social media where you offer a lot of free content, and let them take from that. And that's it. Let them take from that as much as you can, but try not to take up too much of your time giving away for people who don't fall into your niche.
That's excellent. Setting those boundaries. You said it perfect. It's setting boundaries is scary for people because we think that it's being mean to somebody, but it's actually being very kind.
Sure.
And letting them know, just, where your time and energy is best served.
If I can add something, I know, there may be coaches listening to this about niching down. A lot of coaches struggle with this, because they're so scared. Like, well, if I niche down, I'm not going to be able to work with this person. I'm not going to, it doesn't mean you can't, if you say, I'm just going to work with women, doesn't mean you still can't work with men. You're just not marketing to men, right? I have clients that are men and women, right? I have clients that are not even in fitness. I have entrepreneurs in other realms. I just don't market to them, right? But what tends to happen is that they see me offering these things and they're like, hey, does that work for me too? Could I use that? And it's like, absolutely, right? But my language and the problems I'm solving is for a specific group. And that's really for marketing purposes, but it's also for a peace of mind. So it doesn't mean you can't work with people outside of your niche. It just means you're focusing on a specific group of people.
That's great. The last question with it that I want to get into is just how much do you need? We talked about investing in ourselves with a coach, but how about investing in, let's say, if we want to take our business online, let's talk about like the website, the equipment, all those things. Like what do they need to be doing or how?
That's a great question. That is such a great question. So
I think that's the reason a lot of people don't get into it is because they think that they don't have the equipment, the technology, knowledge, and that kind of stuff.
All contraire, mon frere. So the difference between opening up a brick and mortar versus opening an online business, you're going to need, I think our ask was about $1.2 million to get our brick and mortar off the ground.
Yeah.
I started my online business with $200 USD.
Right.
Right. And so the bigger spend on that was a platform that just kind of allows me to host my emails and my programs on. But you can start your online business with even less. You don't need a website. So scratch that. People spend too much time worrying about business cards, websites. You don't need that right away. What you need is your cell phone. You need your cell phone. You literally, what you could do is maybe invest in a local photographer, get some really good pictures of yourself, and use those pictures now as just the way to kind of drum up content on your media. But it doesn't cost anything to do videos. It doesn't cost anything to create IG stories. It doesn't cost anything to show up each and every day. You're going to need to invest maybe in some sort of pricing platform, but not really. Like you can still do Venmo. You can still take PayPal. That doesn't cost a lot. Start, it doesn't really cost much, right? You wait to start making money and get clients. You take that money and then you turn around and you use that to reinvest back into the business. I get website, business cards, all that stuff's like level 2. It's all further down the road. But the reality is start coaching right away and start getting clients before you start investing so much money.
Absolutely. I think if you start showing some people, I think less is better, especially when starting out, and you show people what you can do with the minimal, maybe resources and equipment that you do have. And I think you're going to start speaking to people a lot more clear and grasping their attention a little bit more because it's more relatable to them, because they can look at it like, well, shit, they're doing it with the bare minimum of things. And I could be doing probably a lot more with just what I have going on,
oh my God,
in my life and a little,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. What's that?
Put blinders on. Like, don't look at people that are ahead of you and look at all the shiny new objects that they have and think, well, I don't have that, so I'm not going to be successful. Right? Like literally just focus on putting out good content. And if you're wondering, how do I even get content? Coaching creates
Share your life.
Coaching creates content, right? So if you want to get good content, coach people, because their problems, you're going to come up with like, oh, that's a good thing to talk about. And you're going to take that. And that's how I get a lot of my content is coaching my coaches, coaching my clients. I'll be like, oh, okay, that was a problem we talked about. We helped them solve that. Now I'm going to put that out there because there's probably other people.
They're not the only one.
We're experiencing the same thing. And so, you don't need a lot. Don't look at people that are further ahead of you. Definitely don't look at people who are next to you. Just put the blinders on and get going. The biggest investment that I would say to put into is get a coach. Get a coach. Invest in your education outside of your practices. Invest in some sort of business coaching because that's going to allow you to go forward a lot faster.
All right, dude. So where can people get in touch with you if they decide that the next investment is a coach?
IG, baby. Look for me on IG. James P. Quigley is my Instagram, James P. Quigley. You can look for me on Facebook at James Quigley, or you can shoot me an email, jamesqfitness@gmail.com.
Awesome. We'll make sure we get you tagged up when we launch this out on our IG as well.
Yeah, go on IG.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This is awesome. If you guys are out there, especially through going through the coronavirus now, I'm taking calls from people. I'm offering a 30-minute free complimentary coaching call to kind of just give you support, talk to you, listen to you, and then offer anything that I can to help you get through this. So reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you.
I love it. Thanks, James.
Thank you, Miss Meg. Miss Megan.
Awesome. Miss Meg.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to help spread what you're doing. Like, you've been a massive support for me. I mean, through Kuwait, you watched me bomb some of my first meetings, with a team and in a management role. You fucking saved me, man.
Yeah, those bombs definitely helped you out now, right? Same thing.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I think about that moment all the time, and I just like,
you're right now just thinking about it.
I am.
Oh, that's great.
For those who can't see. But no, I thank you for just sharing all of your energy and all your insight that you have from a worldly experience with all of us. So
it's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Love you, man.
Love you too. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You can also find us on Instagram at The Project Kuwait. Thank you, and join us next time.